What's up guys, I'm Sonic and I'm the best lane user in the world. In this new video, I'm going to show you all 46 first block cases so you'll be able to solve it quickly, cutting your times by a lot. And without further ado, let's jump into it. So there are 8 sets of cases, first of which is the one in which both corners are solved in the bottom layer, and obviously if the edge is in the middle, well, you gotta skip, I guess. If you have the edge adjacent to the corners, you can just bring up the edge and then do a D and an M2 to insert it between the corners. Another possible option, if you have it from the back like that, instead of doing a D2, you can just do M2, D, M2 to solve it in the same way. It's not slice efficient, but it's really quick. On the other side, if the edge is here on the left, you can do the exact same thing. So you bring it in the back, you slice to put it up, and then you just do M2 to create the block on the bottom layer. Other option you have, if you find yourself with the edge in the front like that, you can just do M2, D prime, M2 to solve the edge. Same thing as before. This is not slice efficient, but it's still quite fast, so I recommend you learn that solution as well. If you have the edge opposite to the corners, the best solution is to simply bring the edge up like this and then do either U prime D and then M2, or you can just do it from the back as well by doing UD prime and then M2 as well by creating the block. Another thing you can do is by putting the corners either in the front or in the back like that, just slice 5 -1, slice -5 1 and slice. That way you're still building the block, even though I don't really recommend you doing that unless you find yourself, for example, in this scenario. Like from here, instead of doing D2, taking out the edge and then solving it, you can just do D, for example, and then this kind of algorithm to create the block. That's something you can do. Last case of this set, if the edge is on top, obviously you just do M2 to insert it, either in the front or in the back, like that. Now, next set in which you have 2 corners that are opposite to each other. If the edge is connected to one of the corners, it's super simple. I mean, you just take one out like that and pair the block. You can even take it out this way and pair the block like that, or you can take out the other corner. I mean, you're really free for the solution of this block, even like this, you know, just take it out like that and then D prime and solve the block. Same if the edge is paired to the other corner, you just take one of them out, insert, or you can do it from another angle like this, for example. You just take it out and pair the block. You know, from all angles, it's just the exact same thing as before. Now, one more case that I really dislike is when the edge is still in the bottom layer but paired incorrectly with one of the corners. What you can do in this scenario is to simply take out the corner with the edge by keeping it on the right like this, and then pairing this corner with the edge either in the back like that or in the front like this, and then you're just gonna finish the block. Or another option you have is to take them out like this and then still pair the edge with the corner either like that or in the back like that. Last thing you can do is to take out this corner with this edge like this, then pairing the corner that's left on the bottom layer with the edge that's on top, and then just finishing the block. Now, if you get the mirror in which you have the edge paired to the other corner, it's just the same thing as before. You can take them out, pair the edge to the other corner, and then solve the block with all the other solutions as well, mirrors and stuff. I'm not going to show you all of those solutions because they're the exact same thing as the previous ones. Now, if the edge is on the top layer, it's super simple. You just pair the edge with one of the corners, for example, like this, and then you solve the case you got. Or you can, for example, pair it to this corner right here, so you can slice and then, you know, finish the block. You can do it from all other angles. Even if the edge is in front, you can just pair it with this corner, for example, and get another one slicer, or you can pair it with this corner right here and still get a one slice solution. Now, our third set is the one in which we have both corners flipped on the bottom layer. So if you get them like this with one edge paired to one of them, you can just take one of them out and then literally you're gonna have a one slicer like this, super simple. You can also take out the other one from the back like this, for example, and pair it in the front. Same goes if the edge is paired to the other corner. You can just bring one of them up and then just solve it. You know, it's super simple and intuitive. I'm not going to explain this any further. If the edge is in between the corners, you can literally just take the edge with one of the corners on the top layer like this, then pair the corner that, you know, kind of stayed alone with the edge that got on top, and then you will be left with a one slicer. Or you can do it from the back by taking out this edge and this corner, pairing this corner right here with the edge, and you're gonna be done. Now, when the edge is opposite to the corners, this is literally the worst case with its mirror on top that can only be solved in 4 slices. You have a whole lot of different solutions. The first solution, for example, is to just take this edge paired with one of the corners like this and then solve this case as I explained earlier, like this. Or another thing you can do is, for example, to take out one corner, just one corner, and then do an M2 to pair it with the edge like that, and then just finish the blocks. Another solution that you can do is to take out the corner with the edge like this, and pair the edge with the corner that stayed on the bottom layer, and then just solve this to slicer like this. If the edge is on the top layer, you can just pair it to any of the corners, for example this one here, and then you're gonna be left with a 2 slicer as earlier. You can do it with the edge in the front as well by pairing it to the corner like this, and then solving. Or you can even do it by bringing the corners on top like that, and then just solving this. Now, if both corners are on top, obviously, and the edge is in the middle, just slice and D2 to solve the block. This is a pretty lucky state. If you have the edge in this position, you can just bring down the corners like this, D, and then M2 to solve them. Another thing you can do is, if you find the edge in the back, you can just slice, U, M2, and then insert the block. I know this is not slice optimal, but it's something I would probably do instead of doing U2, but it kind of depends. It's just your personal preference. If the edge is in the back like this, still the same thing as before, so you just take down the corners, D prime, and M2 to create the block. Or if you have it in the front, you can do the same thing as before, so you just bring down the edge, M2 to create the block on top, and bring it down. This is just something situational. Generally, you always want to build the block on the bottom layer, but sometimes building it on top is still fine. Now, if you have the edge opposite to the corners, the easiest solution is to just take down the corners and then do, for example, U prime D and solve them with an M2, or you can still bring down the corners, but this time do U D prime and then M2 to solve them. Now, if the edge is on the bottom layer, technically, for this case, you could do it in 2 slices by pairing the edge with one of the corners, and then do like 5-5 and slicing. But even though this is a 2 slicer, I don't recommend you using this solution because it's just awful. The best thing you can do is bringing down the corners, while at the same time bringing up the edge, and then just doing D, M2, D. Even though this is not slice optimal, it's just the best solution you can do because it's so much better and faster. Even if the edge is here on the right or in the front, you can always do the exact same thing. For example, like this. Or you can do it with the edge here by doing, for example, something like that, and then UD, M2 to finish the block. If you have both corners on the top layer that are opposite to each other and the edge is paired to one of them, you have a couple options. Either bring down one corner and then pair the block on the bottom layer by just doing this, or you can also just pair the block on the top layer and insert. I don't really know what to recommend you because you can just use both solutions. You should probably try and see which one you can execute faster, and that's probably the one you should go for, because I generally just pair it on the bottom layer, but it's your personal choice. This is perfectly fine as well. It's still really, really fast. Same reasoning applies if the edge is paired to the other corner. You either bring one down and then pair it with the other like that. Oh, obviously I forgot to mention that you can bring down either of them from any angle, literally even like this, and then doing U prime D2 like that and pairing the block. Or you can do it from here, for example, something like that. You're completely free in the solution of these blocks, but obviously you can always just pair the block on top and then insert it. Now, if you have the edge that's paired incorrectly with one of the corners, the easiest solution is probably to just take down the corner that's not paired with the edge, like this, and then pairing this corner here with the edge, and then just solving the block like that. Or you can do the exact same thing by bringing down the corner, for example, here from the front, like that, and then do the exact same thing. Or you can bring down the corner with the edge. You know, it's the same thing as the case I showed you before. You can even take down this corner and then pair it with the edge it used to be paired with incorrectly, so that way they're paired correctly, and then insert the corner. But the best solution will just remain bringing this down, pairing with the edge, and then inserting. Exact same solution can be done if the edge is paired to the other corner, so you take the single one, bring it down, paired with the edge, like that, and then just finish the block. Or you can do something like this, for example, taking down this corner here, paired with the edge, and then just finish the block. You know, you kind of have a whole lot of different solutions. You can bring down these two, for example, pair the edge in the back with the corner, and then just solve it in the front. You have a whole lot of different solutions. It's completely up to you which one you want to use. Last case of this set, when the edge is in the bottom layer, you can either pair it with one corner and then directly build the block on the bottom layer, for example, like this. Or after pairing one corner with the edge, you can just create the block on top and then insert it. Both solutions are really fast. I think I personally use the non-slice optimal one for this case, but maybe sometimes I also use the other one. I don't even remember, but you can just use both of them. They're all okay. Next set, if you have both corners on top that are flipped, you can just bring one down and pair it with the other, like this. Obviously, you can do it from the back as well. You just bring these down and create the block directly on the bottom layer. Same thing can be done if the edge is paired to the other corner. You just bring them down and then create the block right there on the bottom layer. Or you can bring down the corner that's alone and then still finish the block in the front like this. If the edge is in between the two corners, you simply want to bring down one corner alone, then pair the edge with the corner that you brought down like this, and then just finish the last one as well. You can do the same thing from the back, just bring down one corner, paired with the edge, and then finish the block. Now, when the edge is opposite to the two corners that are flipped, what I recommend you doing is simply pairing the edge to one of the two corners, for example, by doing something like this, and then just solving this two slicer, for example, in this way. Or if you like to, you can also pair it with one in the back. It doesn't really matter. Important thing is that you know what solution you're using and that you just spam it. If you have the edge on the bottom layer, you can simply pair it with one of the two corners, for example, to this one here. Then you bring one of the corners down, and you just finish the block on the bottom layer. You can do this from all angles, for example, with the edge in the back, like this, just bring them down. Or you can also do it when the corners are on the right, like this. You just pair this corner with this edge and do the exact same thing, but from the bottom layer. Same goes when the edge is here in the front, just pair them like that, bring these up and solve. Now, going with the last two sets, if you have the BDL corner that's in the bottom layer and the FDL one that's on the top, if the edge is paired with this one here, you can just, create the block on the bottom layer pretty intuitively. Or if you find yourself in this scenario, you can just create it on top and insert. That's perfectly fine as well. If the edge is paired incorrectly with this corner, the thing that you want to do is to pair the edge with the corner that's on the bottom layer, like this, and then just finish the block. Or you can also do it from here as well. So you just take this corner, attach it to the edge, and then just build the block here in the back. If the edge is opposite to the corner, what you want to do is that you want to take this edge right here and pair it with this corner. And after that, you simply want to finish the block. You can do it from the back as well. So take this corner here, pair it with the edge, and then just finish the block back there. Something that you can do if you find yourself in this position is just bringing down the corner. So you pair them and doing U2 and M2. This is not slice optimal, but it's still pretty quick. So I recommend you learning this solution as well. If you have the edge and this corner right here kind of forming an F12 pair, you can just pair the corners together, U, and then do an M2. Or if you find it in the back, you can also do M2 to create this small block and then just finish the block in the front. Now, if the edge is paired with the corner that's on the bottom layer, you just take this corner here and pair it with that one. Pretty simple. If the edge is paired incorrectly with this corner, you have a couple options. Technically, this case here is a two slicer, but instead of doing this and then pairing the block in the back, what I would generally do is to simply do M2 to create this small block here and then finishing it in the front. You can use the two slicer when you have it from the back like this, where you just pair the edge to the corner and then just build it in the front. This is viable. If you have the edge opposite to the corner, you can just pair it with the corner that's left on top and then finish it on the bottom layer like this. Same can be done from the front, so taking this edge, pairing it with the corner, like this. And here I wouldn't really do 1 -5. Here I would just do 1 7, so bringing it into the back by doing a D2 like this. But it's just your personal preference on the finger tricks. If you have corner and edge forming like an F12 pair, you can simply pair the corner that's on top with this edge by doing an M2 like this, and then solving the block. Another option is to simply pair the two corners together by doing a slice, and then just inserting the edge in between them with an M2. Now, go with the last set in which the BDL corner is on top and the FDL one is in the bottom layer. If you have the edge paired to this corner correctly, you can just, finish the block on the bottom layer. Or if you find it like this, you can just pair it on top and then insert like that. If the edge is paired incorrectly with the corner, you can just pair the corner that's on the bottom layer with the edge like this, and then inserting the other corner as well. Or you can do it from the back like this, so pairing this corner with this edge, and then just finishing the block here in the bottom layer. If corner and edge are opposite to each other, it's the same thing as before, so you can take this corner here, paired with the edge, and then just finish the block on the bottom layer. Here, same thing as before, I wouldn't do 1 -5, I would just do 1 7, like that. It's a bit awkward, but it's definitely faster. But instead of that, you can just, pair the edge with this corner right here in the back there, and then just do it in a much more comfortable way. But if the edge is forming like an F12 pair, you can either bring down the corner, so you can just pair them like this and then insert the edge with an M2, or you can first insert the edge like that and then solve this case by doing either this, or after inserting the edge you can just do something like this, even though I don't really recommend this last solution because it's not really that efficient. If the edge is on the bottom layer paired with the corner, you know, you can just finish the block right there, or you can finish it on the top layer and then insert. If the edge is paired incorrectly with the corner, what I would probably do here is to just pair the edge with the corner that's on top, then doing this awkward move and finish it on the bottom. I know you can technically do this, pair the block on top and slice, but it's not something I do. You can do it if you want, but it's not really necessary. On the other hand, you can just do it from the back by pairing this corner with the edge like that, and then here just do -4, 5 to pair the block here on the bottom layer. If the edge is opposite to the corner, you can just take the edge, pair it to the corner that's on top, like that, and then pairing the first block on the bottom layer. Or you can do it from the back as well, for example, by pairing this corner to this edge, just slicing, and then finishing the block here in the front. Last first block case, if you have the edge that forms an F12 pair with the corner that's on the bottom layer, you can just pair the corners and then insert the edge in the middle with an M2, or you can just pair this corner right here with the edge, do an M2, and then finishing the block on the bottom layer. So guys, that was it for the tutorial. Hopefully you liked it. For any question, make sure you ask down there in the comments and I'll answer as soon as possible. In the meanwhile, just make sure that you find all the best solution that you prefer for the first block cases, because most of them have a whole lot of different solutions that you can use, and so you simply have to try by yourself, finding the one you like the most. So in the meanwhile, only thing I can say is good cubing.